Guys, 1 second here, bringing in a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be taking a look at the EZA for the STR GT Trunks, another one of these 8-year-old GT units that has finally gotten an EZA. And this guy, from reading his details, seems like he could be pretty good, could potentially be one of the best of the bunch for being a viable support unit for this GT Heroes team, right? So his leader skill is nothing really important. Tech and STR types 3 key 90%, so not exactly a relevant sort of level leader skill anymore, but it is what it is. His super attack is greatly raise attack and defense in 1 turn, supreme damage and massively lower defense. So the greatly raise is obviously good. We like to see that. His base effects, attack and defense 150, randomly change key spheres of a certain type, int and STR excluded to rainbow, so rainbow orb changer is helpful. All allies attack 30%, then when attacking with 12 or more key, he gets another 150% attack and defense. When there's another GT Heroes or Hybrid Saiyans ally in the same turn, he gets another 150% attack and defense, crit chance and damage reduction 30%, and all allies defense 30%. And then when all allies in the same turn are GT Heroes or Hybrid Saiyans, he gets another 150% attack and defense, another 30% crit chance and damage reduction, and all allies attack and defense 30%. So that means on a full GT Heroes or Hybrid Saiyans rotation, he's giving all allies attack and defense 60%, and then he has 60% crit chance and 60% damage reduction, while being a rainbow orb changer, and then he's getting 150% when he attacks. So we can see here, start of turn, he's at 438k, which is nothing too crazy, I suppose. Now, bearing in mind, like, his super attack does greatly raise, but if you think about, was it 438, 826, so plus 150% when attacking with 12 key, that's already putting him up to just over 1 million, with 60% damage reduction. Pretty decent, nothing super crazy. The greatly raise obviously helps quite a lot as well. Now, ideally, he's not really a slot 1 unit, but as we've kind of seen with this stage, if we put these units in slot 2 after Gogeta, Gogeta usually just destroys everyone, and then we don't get to really see what they do. So let's see what Trunks is able to do here. He should tank normals fine. I was going to say, watch him eat a slot 1 super, but 17.7 million, okay. It's not terrible, all things considered, right? He's a support unit. He's got no built-in additionals or anything like that, so obviously no extra defense boost or anything like that unless we give him full additional. I mean, to be fair, because he gets 60% dodge on the only 2 real team builds that you're going to run him on, because let's be honest, like, you're not going to run him not on GT Heroes or Hybrid Saiyans, which is kind of interesting for when Hybrid Saiyans next gets a new leader and some buffs. This guy could be a very viable support unit for that team as well. But yeah, 60% chance to crit built in is more than good enough for you to not have to give him any crit in the hidden potential. He's an STR unit, so he's going to have 5 crit anyway. So realistically, I would just leave him with the 5 crit and then put everything else into dodge and additional. Additional obviously will be very helpful for him, for having, like, getting that extra super, and having another greatly raise is going to be really good. But obviously my general go-to for floating slot 3 support units is to just give them like a full dodge build. I actually haven't changed his hidden potential since he got his EZA, so I'm not sure what it is. I know we're getting a bunch of new EX skill orbs with the Training in the Clouds shop update, like tomorrow. I don't know if any of these like sub EZAs will be getting them. We should be getting them for like Int Gogeta, Vegeta and Trunks, maybe the super EZAs, although Goku and Vegeta have their own from the anniversary event. Maybe STR and Mega will get some. But yeah, I don't know about the rest of the sub EZAs. So I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to be available before I start changing all of the hidden potentials. But yeah, any kind of mix of just like dodge and additional really is what you want for this Trunks. Additional supers will help a lot with the second greatly raise, or just dodge to avoid these big attacks. Because, I mean, post super, if he's going to have, he's going to greatly raise, so he's going to be at most hitting sort of like 1.5 million defense with 60% damage reduction. Like, the 60% goes a long way, but when we think about the hardest hitting bosses now, hitting like, you know, sort of 7 million attack, if we take off 60%, that's still 2.8. So, you know, having anything less than 2 million damage, he's probably still going to be getting one-tapped by these really big bosses. But, you know, he's still going to be relatively good. I mean, he falls very much into the category of being one of these slot 3 floating support units who's going to be able to hold his own relatively well against normals for most of the difficult bosses, and then it's just going to be one of those things that unfortunately he could get caught by a super, but considering he's there for support, giving 60% attack and defense to the rest of the team, which is huge, then that is obviously very, very good. I think we need to, actually what I should do is I should float off the Goku here so that we can get him to transform and then see like the 44% buff from the previous turn. The only problem is like we don't have a great slot 1 unit for this turn really, unless we just put you there and hope that you dodge. We did stun Zamasu, but because yeah, Trunks is now at 627 start of turn, so on super he's going up to like 1.5 million without the super attack effects. That's because of the buff from Pan on the previous turn. Like, I mean, if he had guard, we could probably risk putting him in slot 1, but as he doesn't, then we'll just go ahead and do this. See what we get for him here on this turn. I mean, he's obviously not going to be a unit that is throwing out like super impressive attack stats, because that's not what he's for on the team, right? He's just there to provide support for everybody else and like a nice floating 60%. When you think about all the support that this GT Heroes team is now getting, with like the Super EZA, Super Saiyan 4s giving a bit of defense or offense, depending which one, and then having this guy Pan, like this guy giving an extra 60%. He did get an additional from the hidden potentials, he jumps up to 19. So I mean, that puts his defense on this turn actually probably closer, if not over 2 million. Because obviously you got Vegeta giving the defensive support as well. So yeah, I mean 2 million defense with 60% damage reduction is going to go a long way when it comes to tanking even some of the end game boss super attacks. But the big thing is stuff like, you know, the end of the Divine Wrath and Mortal Will boss rushes. Like, these characters are getting up to, you know, insane levels of attack, where we're hitting for like 7 point something million. And then of course the big one is fully built up Int Rose, of course, in the GDC Super Battle Stage 1. But there, to be fair, like, there are not many units that are tanking fully built up Rose. And I mean, fully built up, his normals do 7 million, which, I mean, this guy, depending on the support that he has around him, what does his defense need to get up to? I closed the calculator, so let's bring it up again. So 7 million minus the 60% is 2.8. So if his defense gets over 2 million and we're on full health, he will survive a normal from fully built up Rose, but only the one, right? And then of course Rose does the AoEs and all that crazy stuff. So there's, like I said, there's not many units that can survive fully built up Rose, but Trunks is going to be able to do pretty well against most of the other bosses. Be interesting to see how difficult this new event that's going to be coming out, right? The fan choice, like with the poll on Twitter. We know it's going to be a longer event, 4 phases, no items, but the enemy can't do any sort of like wacky status effects. Be interesting to see how hard like the hardest part of that fight hits, because if it's anything under 7 million with like the normals, obviously, then, which I imagine it will be, Trunks is going to be fine against anything except a super from the later part of that event if the boss is hitting really hard with their super attack. And if they're hitting less than 7 million, Trunks is going to be fine most of the time against those bosses. So that's definitely very, very good. He's got some decent links. Obviously, he doesn't have like a lot of the big units on the GT Heroes team now are the Super Saiyan 4s, so we've got a lot of characters going around with like Saiyan Raw. And of course he doesn't have that, but he's got decent links for the rest of the team, having like Super Saiyan and Prepared for Battle. Obviously everyone has GT, so key's not really an issue on the team because GT is a key link. So yeah, should be pretty decent, I think, for a lot of these events. Now we got the turn now where we got the multiple support buff from Pan supering repeatedly in the previous turn. So this is what a proper rotation with this guy would end up looking like a lot of the time. And he's at 813k start of turn. So remember, when he super attacks, he gets 150%. So that's like over 2 million already, and then the greatly raise as well. So if he was to get a double super, he could get close enough to like 2.5 million, which puts him in that range of tanking the 7 million damage super that we were talking about for like maybe 300-400k, something like that, which again is not bad considering how difficult some of these enemies can be. So let's go ahead and I guess he doesn't get any support from the... That's the only problem with him being a Super Saiyan 1 Trunks. It would have been really, really good for this guy to be a Super Saiyan 2 Trunks. Well, I don't know if... Is Trunks ever a Super Saiyan 2 at any point in GT? Like, it'd be really good for the unit itself to be Super Saiyan 2 Trunks, because then he would get all the defensive support from the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and then obviously when he transforms into Super Saiyan 4, because then he'd be getting 70% damage reduction and an extra 10%, or sorry, 70% defense and an extra 10% damage reduction, which would put him at 70%. Like, that rotation would be insane. Like, if you have a rotation of like Gogeta, the AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and then that Trunks coming in slot 3, and he was actually a Super Saiyan 2, like post Super, he'd be well over 2.5 million defense with 70% damage reduction. He would be tanking 7 million damage super attacks for double digits, but unfortunately he is only Super Saiyan 1. That does mean he can go on the Super Saiyans team, but he's not really built for that unless you make a team build of it that is full hybrid Saiyans, I guess, which you can do with certain characters, but there's no real reason to outside of for fun, for a challenge, or if they add like a Super Saiyans mission to an event and you want to do it in a slightly different way, I guess. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting EZA. He's definitely good in terms of general performance. Like, attack stat wise is nothing too crazy, but I mean, it's funny to think we're in this meta now where characters are hitting so hard. That KO screen, I'd love to see that. Characters are hitting so hard. You think back to like a year or so ago, and it's like if we had a floating slot 3 unit and we're like, yeah, they're hitting for like 17 million. Like, that's pretty good for a floating slot 3 unit. So go ahead and do this. I mean, that's the thing. He doesn't have any like permanent build up. He doesn't have any like stacking or anything like that. So realistically, we are just going to be seeing the same kind of numbers every turn. So I feel like we don't really need to go a huge amount further through the event than this. But like I say, with these kind of units, I always say this is a showcase setting, so we're keeping him on rotation so we can see more turns of him. But realistically, he is just going to be a unit that you're floating in slot 3. So we can't even see in this video really like the full effect that he has on the rest of the team, because obviously on this rotation we would normally have Gogeta next to the LR Super Saiyan 4s, so both of them are going to be getting their links like Saiyan Raw, Legendary Power, Kamehameha. Like, they're going to be hitting significantly harder, and that Trunks giving the extra 60% support is just the icing on the cake, like boosting them even further. Whereas obviously here, like just throwing him in the middle, it's good to see the numbers that he can do, but he's not picking up those big links from them, like Saiyan Raw. So he's going to have the same sort of performance attack stat-wise and everything in slot 3. But yeah, I think he's pretty good. For a support unit, the only thing that's going to be killing him is the big boss super attacks. With the post-super defense that he has and 60% damage reduction, he's going to be tanking normals in the game, like all bosses, apart from fully built up Rosé, which, as we said, is kind of an anomaly. There's not many units in the game that tank well against fully built up Rosé, so I'm not really going to hold that against him at all. But yeah, I think he is very, very good. So look at the gods. The Super Saiyan 4 is taking a super when we don't have the damage reduction, like when they just have the guard. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, Trunks is pretty good. Nothing insane. We can't put I forgot to put the special sticker on him, so let's go ahead and we'll quit out of the event here. Like I say, we've seen what we need to see from him. With the bit of support on this team, especially with having like the pan multi-turn support, he did get up to some pretty high levels of defense, which I do quite like. That helps him out specifically. Or with the 150% on super, that's obviously a pretty big buff if his start of turn defense is good. So let's go ahead and whack a sticker on him here and see. He's got a good aura, so maybe that will be... Okay, yeah, it looks decent. The aura itself's not really too much, but he's pretty good. Let me know what you guys think. I think he's a go-to support for the GT Heroes team. The GT Heroes team is so full of good characters at the moment that it's hard to find a space for other units, but if you want another floating slot 3 support, this guy will be really good. And the one thing I do really like about him is against these fights that do have AoEs, he just has his 60% damage reduction straight away from the start of the turn. Whereas the physical Pan, who we're going to do the video for next, doesn't get her like buffs, like her dodge chance and stuff, until she attacks. So AoEs could be a problem, whereas Trunks just has it straight away. So that turn we saw where he was like 800k defense start of turn, that would be 800k defense with 60% damage reduction. He would be fine against Rosé's AoE, as long as he's not built up, obviously. So yeah, pretty good, but let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.